The opening of Chinese state television got right to the phone call between President Xi Jinping and his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden and how the two leaders view Taiwan. Xi told Biden, the presenter said, that those who play with fire will perish by it. That's an apparent reference to U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's possible trip to Taiwan, a move that China angrily thinks could add legitimacy to Taiwan's independence. The White House says tensions over Taiwan did come up during the phone call and that Biden opposes any changes to America's ambiguous stance towards Taiwan and opposes China's increased aggressions towards Taiwan.
Marina Ovsyannikova made a name for herself early on in Russia's invasion. At a time when it was tremendously difficult to speak out publicly, she burst into a TV studio owned by Russian state TV where she worked at the time, and she held up that sign denouncing the war. She was fined for violating anti-protest laws then, and now she's had to face court again, this time accused of discrediting the Russian army through social media posts. She wasn't jailed, but she was fined. Nonetheless, she's standing by her criticism.
All these charges were absolutely absurd. I don't know why we wasted our time. It was clear from the beginning that this trial was organised to intimidate me, to intimidate Russians who oppose the war.
At least 25 officers have been killed so far this year. Dozens more have been injured in attacks using firearms and explosives. Colombians have mourned the dead individuals nationwide. Officials say the powerful Gulf Clan drug cartel is behind most of the murders and may even be offering rewards for targeting security forces.
The government says that behind these attacks is the Clan del Golfo, the Gulf Clan. This is the major criminal organization of the country, one of the biggest drug gangs in Latin America. These attacks are supposed to be a retaliation against the authorities for the extradition of the leader's gang, Otoniel. Otoniel was captured by the end of last year, and after many hearings and a long process, he was extradited to the United States a couple of months ago.
Quite a sudden visit, but one that's definitely coming for a reason. What we're seeing today is, of course, France, Europe, the West in general, seeing what the consequences are of them backing Ukraine in their war against Russia. Now, of course, we've seen that the impact that it's had on oil prices, but not just that, as it extends, of course, to the rest of the food across the planet. Now, they've been trying to sort that out. They've been trying to approach leaders from the Gulf to try and get them to increase oil production, hoping that that's maybe going to bring, or should, if they do, bring prices down across the world. But for now, there's been pretty little success.
This battleship met with a watery grave. Don't worry, it was on purpose. A decommissioned Navy ship, the USS Denver, was towed from Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, to an area about 50 nautical miles north of the island of Kauai. There, a combined force of American and Japanese military sank the ship to the depths of the sea. Before sending the former USS Denver to Davy Jones' locker, the ship was cleaned of all physical and chemical pollutants, including mercury and petroleum, and surveys were taken to make sure there were few humans and marine mammals in the area. Then it was bombs away. Japanese forces used anti-ship missiles, and the U.S. Army launched guided rockets. From the air, the U.S. Navy Fighter Attack Squadron 41 and the U.S. Army Apache helicopters used their weapons to sink the ship 15,000 feet under the water.
Now, this summer marks the 50th anniversary of the Munich Olympic massacre, when 11 Israeli athletes were murdered by Palestinian terrorists at the 1972 Summer Games. Now, yesterday, Bavaria's state governor oversaw a wreath-laying ceremony at a memorial site in Munich's Olympic Park, not far from those dorms where the terrorists attacked and took hostages in the early morning of September 5th. Now, the same day, Germany's government said it was finally willing to pay further compensation to the families of the slain athletes, who charged that German authorities at the time totally mishandled the situation. But some family members of the athletes have said that the amount being offered by the German government was, quote, an insult.
Thousands on the streets of Buenos Aires, protesting their government's economic policies. Their demands: more state aid and a universal basic income for workers. The protests took place in the midst of an economic crisis that has engulfed the whole country. 37% of the population of 47 million are currently living below the poverty line, and inflation for the first half of the year topped 36%. Protesters are demanding a minimum living wage worth 67,000 pesos a month, which equates to around €500.